Assalamualaikum to Puan Asma and my fellow friends. So for today's video, my group member and I are going to present a forum, a discussion on the topic challenges faced by the logistic industry due to COVID-19. So before moving on to the content of the video, I am going to introduce myself. My name is Nur Alahanis Mutizukafi. My matrix number is 08DPN19F1041. And my role in this forum is as the moderator. For the video. So in this video, we are going to explain about the introduction towards the international logistics, the elements and the objective of the international logistics, and then the challenges and the solution, which is our main topic for today. And finally, about a question and answer session where the audience get the opportunity to ask the question, where else the participants, I am going to answer the question. So, the introduction. So, what does international logistics mean? So, international logistics, by the definition, is the process of planning, implementing, and controlling the flow and storage of goods, services, and related information from one point of origin to a point of consumption located to a different country. So, in international logistics, we have the objective. So, what are the objectives of international logistics? So, international logistics basically aim to maintain the annual flow of goods and services from seller to the buyer with these six elements. So we have right price, right time, right places, right product, right condition, and right quantities and assortment. So all of these in logistic management start with considering the customer needs till its fulfillment through product supplies in line with all aspects of performance, including the arrangement of the input, manufacture of the good, and finally the physical distribution of the product. And then we have the elements of 6 elements in the international logistics. So the first element is processing customer order. So processing customer order with the aim to provide faster customer service where the order received from the customer need to be processed within the least possible time. So in this case, like all the activities including the receiving the order, recording the order, filling the order, and assembling all such from the transportation schedule and all need to be done within the least possible time. Okay, and then we have the storage and warehousing. So storage and warehousing involve assorting product in order to create time utility. So this is to make a proper arrangement for the placement of the good, we're providing storage facilities to store them and considering them with other similar products, and also splitting up them into smaller quantities and assortment of the product. So these are to make faster process for the processing customer order. Okay, and then we have the managing and controlling inventories. So managing and controlling inventories involve decision-making process regarding managing and controlling inventories. So in this managing and inventorying process, the cost of inventorying is very important, because when a company make a correct estimation, a correct decision regarding the demand of the product, this will help the company to properly estimate their inventory level and control the inventory cost. Okay. Next, we have transportation. So transportation is about the movement of goods from one point of production and sale to a point of consumption in quantities required, at time needed, and at a reasonable cost. So what are the importance of transportation? So transportation system help to increase the time and place utilities to the good handle, and therefore this will increase the economic value of the goods. Okay, and then we have information monitoring. So information monitoring requires the logistic handling personnel continuously update information about inventories and transportation as well as warehousing. So why does a company need to keep on updating their information about the inventories, transportation, and warehousing? This is to have a better impact on the life cycles of the cost, the funding requirement, facilities, location, and improvement for the space requirement, for the all for the, if they need to make and they need to make an adjustment for all these schedule. And also information monitoring is very important for them to know whether they are using the right manufacturing, they're using the right delivery channel, they using the right intermediaries. So this is why information monitoring is very important. And finally, we have about this support facilities. So support facilities is a number of planning which are usually directed towards ensuring that all required permanent or transitory operating and support facilities are available concurrently with the system fielding. So this include about the training of the staff, about the depot maintenance, about the storage operating. So all of this and to make sure that all the process of the logistic process, the supply management process, systematically done. So that is why support facilities are very important. So these are the explanation about the elements of in the international logistics. Next, we have the example of top 15 companies based on the website. So as you can see, the first company that ranked top the rank is DLH supply chains and global forwarding. So as you know that we also have in Malaysia, we also have the DHL forwarding company. If you are experienced in ordering items from the online shopping website and all, so you can see that DHL company is one of the top intermediaries that used by the seller to deliver their items to the customer. So that's all about the introduction of the international logistics. So moving on to the next speaker. Thank you.
Greetings. My name is Tanisha Anapunpan Sentry Segrin and my matrix number is 08DPI19F1066 and I am speaker number 1. And the topic that was given to me today is the logistics challenges and solutions due to COVID-19. This pandemic, as we know, has disrupted supply chains all around the world. It prevents vast logistic challenges everywhere. But as we know, when there are challenges, there will be certain solutions for that. And at their heart are technology and people, and also the tools, communications and data linked with them. The essential nature of logistics has been highlighted by the coronavirus crisis, from getting personal protective equipment, or also known as PPE, to healthcare workers to replenishing stocks in supermarkets. The challenges are imposing, from much reduced air and ocean cargo capacity and a rapid shift from in-store buying to e-commerce due to the COVID-19 bullwhip effect on the inventories and also supplies. Never have so many businesses all around the world and consumers had to adjust, improvise and also innovate so rapidly in a very short period of time. And regarding my topic, there are 5 solutions and also challenges that I am going to state and explain below. Challenge number 1. Capacity. Capacity was evaporated due to COVID-19. In normal times, ocean freight is typically around 90% of global trade volume, but the pandemic initially curtailed the supply of manufactured goods out of Asia, then rippled across the world and sent demand for goods shipped by ocean freight plummeting. ocean carriers responded by removing shipping capacity from the market, cancelling sailings and eliminating strains where vessels call on several ports before reaching a final destination. Air freight capacity also dropped in large part because of a significant portion of air cargo flights in the bellies of passenger flights, many of which were cancelled as passenger traffic dried up when it was in the pandemic. Meanwhile, driver shortages and also cross-border restrictions shrank road freight capacity in certain places and led to long backups and also delays. Ocean freight capacity is starting to bottom out and also stabilize. In the meantime, when all this was happening, a number of other answers were emerged as solutions, including the shift of ocean cargo to air. Despite higher shipping rates and scramble for space, markers of tech products such as laptops and also headsets saw demand soar as millions around the world left the office and began working from home instead for extended periods due to the pandemic. And the second solution that was given due to the COVID pandemic was the use of air charters for urgent, high value cargo that would otherwise go aboard freighter aircraft or in the belly of wide body passenger flights. And the third one was conversion of empty passenger aircraft to passenger freighters that can carry cargo in specially packaged and also packed passenger cabins in addition to belly cargo. And the fourth solution that was brought up was the charter sharing and freight consolidation among forwarders and also shippers that might normally be competitors as well. And the fourth one is the alternative modes such as rail from China to Europe, the long haul trucking across borders, and also alternative airports, ports, and trekking routes where there is extra capacity. The second challenge is the fluctuating demand. COVID-19 has turbocharged the consumer shift to online buying rather than going face-to-face or in-store buying. For example, in Italy, e-commerce sales of consumer products rose by 1% to 81% in a single week. McKinsey forecasted, a person who is in Italy who does research, he forecasted that 55% of the consumers in China will continue shopping online as the crisis eases. For example, they were also buying cars without even visiting a showroom. How cool is that? Business weathering the storm include those with omni-channel, which is the inventory strategies that have pivoted the BOPIS strategy, which was buy online and pick up in store models, and smaller firms such as restaurants that transformed their websites into point of sale and converted themselves into delivery-led operations. And the retail to go approach presents logistics hurdles. E-commerce demands were rapidly fulfilled and the delivery was also inexpensive for the consumer, which made it easier for them to purchase it through online rather than going into the store. Along with the solutions, such solutions that was come up with this challenge were the ocean freight as floating storage through careful timing and also orders, and more warehousing close to point of origin or destination were created. Conversion of stores into storage as distribution and fulfillment hubs were used as the solutions for this challenge. Challenge number 3, geographic risk. The crisis also provided an opportunity to re-evaluate supply chain locations. At the start of the pandemic, when China shuttered production in their country, some US fashion retailers said more than 70% of their stock was sourced from that country itself. Disruption to its industries have left electronics retailers facing delays of 10 weeks on shipments itself. The same is true for other brands that were produced in the same nation. Will the crisis alter global production and sourcing patterns? Will it prompt companies producing or sourcing in Asia to diversify by spreading production or to adopt near-shoring and reshoring strategies? All these questions were running through the management and departments of logistics. These were the signs of some US manufacturers that are looking and they are planning to bring in production closer to home, mainly in Mexico. That is an example of the crisis and challenges that we face. For many, it will be hard to cut or lose ties to China. This is a challenge. This is because supply chains there are highly efficient as the labor force is large and also skilled in China. The market vast and also it was a very growing market in China back then before the pandemic itself. Then Chinese production is deeply integrated with inputs from and also the production in other Asian markets. China, for instance, is a major source of fabric for garment manufacturers in the region, making it hard to remove from the equation together. And a China plus one strategy was used to spread supply chain risk is also potentially very expensive. Many companies with the flexibility to move has already done so. As a result of US China trade friction that began in 2016 or because labor costs in China were rising, pre-COVID-19, the Agility Emerging Markets Logistics Index 2020 found 70% of those with operations in China were planning to stay put despite global trade tensions and other headwinds. This sentiment may endure after the pandemic, suggesting a logistics-led solution. Smoothing supply and demand issues were the best approaches and solutions for this challenge. Challenge number 4, inventory management. Consider the COVID-19 bullwhip effect. Bullwhip effect is the changes in consumer demand that ripple through the supply chain at every greater magnitudes, creating long-term problems for production and also supply. This can be seen in the one-off surges in demand for toilet paper. Stockouts were at least for a week, and then the excess inventory build up the next. From goods delayed to goods unwanted, from the goods that we wanted, it was becoming unwanted. The pandemic had created an inventory chaos for all. Same solutions exist in creative logistics due to the pandemic, and the first one is improving visibility tools by using advanced data analytics for better modeling. The second one was for moving stock closer to key markets. The third is working out where the small volumes of inventory are needed in order to be more responsive to fast-paced trends. And the last solution for this particular challenge was demand planning and ordering in short or in more frequent cycles. The last challenge of logistics due to COVID-19 is challenge number 5, land transport. Even as the goods reached the destination country, they weren't going to magically reappear in front of the consumer's doorstep. Instead, land transport were used. Land transport through trucks and these truck drivers has also felt the impact of the pandemic as truckers are now required to get a permit to operate as an essential service provider. There has also been an increased demand for local produce such as groceries and medical supplies that require transport. So this has caused the drivers to overwork in a bid to meet the required demand. So many logistic businesses ended up overworking their drivers because they had to send the parcels in a very short period of time. Moreover, the consumers also faced certain delays due to the increased state border health checkups. Upon reaching their destinations, the companies that relied on the drivers signing on their goods on delivery can no longer rely on those methods. This is due to the quarantine and social distancing regulations set by the government to curb the spread of the virus. As such challenges were implemented and also introduced due to the COVID-19, there were a few solutions that was done for the land transport challenge. The first one is that many new opportunities and job careers were created for new people to come and join the logistics department under the transport company, so that there would be more people under logistics, but they also followed the SOP at the same time. So they had intake of many new workers. So this has decreased the time of delivery, and the consumers had received their items in a very short period of time without any delays. And the second one is that the current workers who were overworked were given some time for them to rest as many new workers came in. So they were given equal amount of rest so that they wouldn't have to stress themselves up and also leave the company in the end. So those are the 5 challenges and solutions that I have explained, and that is all from me. Thank you. I would like to pass to speaker number 2.
Hi, my name is Muhammad Alif Dani bin Mazlan. My matrix number is 08 DPI 19 F1059. As Temisha mentioned, I, as the second speaker, will continue to talk about the challenges the logistic company have to face during the COVID-19. So, the COVID-19 pandemic is unprecedented socio-economic crisis which calls for unparalleled multi-sectoral response in Asia and the Pacific to protect people and support economic recovery. Demand for shipping services is a derived demand directly influenced by economic cycles and international trade. The ongoing and expected contraction of production and consumption due to spread of COVID-19 affect the entire shipping industry. The challenges that they have to face are lower global trade. Growth in trade volume can be expected to decelerate during this COVID-19. The primary economic impact of COVID-19 infection stems from the prohibition of labor movement and production shutdown due to infection expansion or infection control measure. The primary shock adds a secondary shock to the supply of product or the procurement of intermediate goods across the global economy, leading to a decrease in production and consumption in major countries, which can paralyze the global supply chain for a period of time. Next is the slower port growth. As predicted by many organizations, this year port volume will decline due to reduced demand. Strict quarantine measures have had some effect on detention and congestion at the port, but most of them are currently resolved. Last challenges faced by the shipping industry are greater integration of transport services. The COVID-19 crisis highlighted once again the direct impact of the hinterland connectivity on port resilience. The supply chain is strengthened around the port and logistics centers as a core element for the multimodal transport system. The solution for these challenges is expansion of contactless and digital service to avoid contact with other people, as this virus can be spread with contact from others. The proliferation of contactless service, which have rapidly emerged during the pandemic, is expected to further this kind of process. So that's all from the sea freight company challenges. Next is air freight. With the country on lockdown, the freight industry was the first to feel the effect of the pandemic. On typical flight, most passengers planes usually ferry a relatively small percentage of cargo in their undercarrier. However, with all aircraft grounded and most flights cancelled, the market has to deal with supply shortage. Some may argue that the plane cargo business has soared as traffic get rerouted through its channel. However, even they can't keep up with the market demand. On that same note, the tightened health inspection have only led to more delays. On normal day, air freight is responsible to transit of trillions of dollars worth of shipments every year. Flying is one of the fastest method of transport and is considered ideal for low volume, highly volume items. With the industry currently as it needs, it has heavily disrupted global supply chain and production cycles for multiple countries. Other sectors of aviation, including commercial and private air travel, have also taken major setbacks, with many airlines having to resort to mass redundancies of their employees. The challenges that air freight face right now is the operational obstacle before a shipment reaches its final destination. Operators have to address certain challenges including airport curfew, border restriction, and flight time limitation. If the aircraft is permitted to land in a certain country, the crew can be subjected to grueling quarantine and testing regulation. This could see them spending up to 2 weeks in a hotel room upon arrival, causing severe disruption to the operator. Without their crew, they are without an aircraft, prohibiting them from making other vital cargo journeys. These issues are likely to cause pandemonium for the future of passenger air travel when lockdown restriction lift. It is likely that this issue will still be in effect and will continue to prohibit many people going where they need to go. So the solution that I find here is to ensure essential cargo continue to be transported. Airline have to utilize their main passenger cabin. The load sheet must be worked out precisely to ensure the weight and balance of the aircraft is not affected and is secured into passenger chairs with netting. For example of this solution, during the first quarter of the COVID-19 outbreak of 2020, the emergency PPE for frontliners healthcare worker was transported from China to other countries by this way.
Hi madam, my name is Patricia binti Zakaria and my metric number is 08DBI19F1067 and my role is the third speaker. As Tamisha and Alif mentioned about the challenges, I'm going to continue the next challenge, which is workforce and labor strategies, and the next one is the lack of resilient strategies and contingency plans. As I mentioned the challenges, now we have to improve on how to make a solution for the workforce and labor strategies. Is to invest in proper resource management. So from the perspective of the general contractors, we know that getting the most out of your existing workforce requires a deeper understanding on how the resources are being allocated. So similar to construction projects, this requires the right tool for the job. And the second one is to improve your company culture. So with construction being an unappealing industry for younger generations, general contractors need to take steps to improve their company culture, and in doing so, improve the culture of the industry in general. A great company culture not only helps to retain skilled workers, it also helps to increase engagement from your new employees. A few ways to start improving your company culture today include by asking for more feedback from your workforce. This gives your team an opportunity to voice any concerns they may have and helps to identify areas for improvement. And asking for feedback also shows your team that they value your input and expertise. By rewarding team members that engage in your company values, it helps to set the standard for the rest of your team while also reinforcing your company values. The next solution will be for the resilient strategies perspective. So the first thing is to plan for the worst case scenario. So since no one can predict the future, but everyone can plan for it. So companies that have already considered possible future disruptors created plans for the worst case scenarios and created contingencies around those plans will be better equipped to adapt and respond quickly and effectively, fostering a much more resilient business. And the second is to leverage integrated systems and technology. By eliminating within your business is a critical component to creating business resilience. By having disparate system will stand in the way of creating synergy and collaboration, which is critical to resilience. Integrating the system and technology within your business bridges gaps you may not even know you have, allowing teams and departments to stay connected and react more efficiently to potential challenges. The third is to improve inventory, visibility, and flexibility. Inventory is a large source of capital within a business but can often be mismanaged, decreasing resilience. Companies can often tie up most of their working capital in inventory by not knowing how to properly optimize and manage it. So, in order to remain resilient against future disruption, businesses should have consistent real-time visibility into where inventory is allocated, which where inventory is located and how it can be redeployed, as well as the confidence that it can easily be adjusted depending on the market conditions. And the next thing is establish robust forecasting and planning processes. When a major disruptor hits, supply and demand patterns can often be the first critical processes to be disrupted. So companies that frequently deal with disruptors such as unstable weather conditions are more often prepared for impacts to supply and demand and have contingencies in place. However, companies that reside in more consistent and stable networks are more likely to be unprepared when disruptors occur because they have not created a plan for those conditions. Companies significantly increase their resilience when they enable quick adjustment to supply and demand patterns such as inventory allocation and fulfillment strategies. And the next solution from the perspective of contingency plan is to coordinate your response. So consider setting up a dedicated team reporting to senior management to take responsibility for assessing and managing the potential impact of COVID-19 and the steps put in place by relevant governments and authorities to deal with it. To ensure that the team has representative from support functions, including the HR, IT, purchasing, procurement, security, and legal, and is split across different regions and time zones where relevant. It is also important to develop or implement a business continuity plan by taking into account relevant legal and regulatory obligations and the issues we set out below. It also important to prioritize effectively and manages potentially conflicting imperatives, establishes and maintains clear internal and external protocols for regular and emergency communication with employees and other key stakeholders. And the next is to monitor and respond to developments and take advice with appropriate senior management or legal oversight. The second one is to manage the impact on the workforce. So employees will need to comply with health and safety duties and broader duties of care and good faith to workers. So the steps to consider subject to local law requirements include taking action to monitor local government and World Health Organization advice and notify or remind staff of recommendations not to travel to particular areas and of measures to help prevent the spread of COVID-19. And the third is to maintain appropriate data and documents because to avoid any things that could lead to damaged data and documents from your companies or from your workers. And last but not least is to also consider potential insurance claims. And that's all from me. Thank you.
So now we are going to do a question and answer session. So the first question is, what is the importance of international logistics, and can you explain briefly about the importance of the international logistics?
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Siti Syarana Jumjah Suhaimi. My magic number is 1058. Okay, my role is as audience. Okay, thank you to the moderator, Miss Alia. First of all, I begin to answer the questions. I will briefly repeat what is international logistics. International logistics is the process of planning and managing goods and products from your company to your customer, where parts of the route involves crossing more than one international border. Okay, is a term widely used in the business sector, referring to how resources and are handled and move along with the supply chains. It becomes quite complex when it includes the entire process of movement control of goods from one country to another one. So, back to the questions. The first questions that our moderator asked is what the importance of international logistics. Okay, for, number one, I have four importances of the international logistics. Number one is productions input. What is productions input? The globalization of production mean a company can produce or process resources from just how anywhere on planet. This may be efficient when a resources whether it's not available locally or cost less when purchased from the international market. So basically you can just buy your resources from other country and can get it more cheaper rather than just buy it from your own country. Okay, number two, we have transportation logistics. Packaging, labeling, transportation and insurance are also in part of international logistics. Sea, air, rail and interstate rail system are important aspects of the transportation logistics. The cost of transporting materials and finishing goods affects any decision about where to local manufacture facility or which supply to use to deliver a given production input. Number three, we have customer clearance. Foreign good import into United States must be processed by United States Customs and Border Protection, a federal agency charged with enforcement of trade and traffic law. Custom production are currently highly technical. Not properly following them or result is expensive and long delay. An importer may retain a customer broker to act as its agent in the entire process. A small business exporter may work with a freight forwarder or shipper associations or use a standard international mail delivery service depending on specific transportation needs. For the last one, importance on the international logistics is supply chains. Knowledge of your product global supply chain is a vital for business planning. Will lead to a full finish capacity. How many order can you fulfillment center process is in a given amount of time? How long does it take for a product or raw material to be delivered to a given point within the global supply chain? A business operator who don't know whether answer risk make a delivery promise he cannot keep.
And the second question is, based on your opinion, what is the worst challenge or number one challenge faced by the international logistic industry during the pandemic COVID-19?
The question number two that our moderator gave to me is what is, in my opinion, the worst challenges that the industry faced during this pandemic COVID-19. Okay, for every challenges is hard, is difficult to face, but for me, for the worst one is the closed border or the country lockdown. Manufacturers dealing with the shipment of raw material from country deemed as hot zone of virus may have to shut down operations. And even before the pandemic, the trade of a supplier from country like China hang in balance as the politics set in a play as where the virus originated from. It's also uncertain that the situation will improve every time. As a result, most logistic company will cut off communication with the country in question and close off their border to trade. With that in mind, most countries in between the trading route can no longer benefit from the partnerships, whether they are mostly in the hotel and accommodation industry. So basically, if one country that basically have the most resources, that produce more materials close to your border, this is the worst. Like if someone from the other country want to buy the materials but that country is being closed, cannot have any trade, cannot have any sellings and buying something enter the country because of this virus, is really the worst, because it's not just, it can shut down the company that want to buy the material for the products. That's all from me. Thank you.